Hello, everybody. It's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus live Sunday. It's the weekly wrap. And thank you for joining. A lot of things happened over the past week that we covered. And a couple of things happening today that we need to talk about. And then we'll look ahead to what's coming up. And I'm going to hold off for just a couple of minutes here to give people a little bit of time to join, those that want to and those that have already. Hello. Thank you for joining. It's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Hit the notification little bell thing there if you want to know when episodes pop up. And please hit a like. Hit the like, thumbs up button down there, and share if you would, and leave a comment. A couple of things before we get started. This is, I've often called this an alternative news show. I'm going to rebrand it. It's an alternative information show. Because it's going to be a little bit broader in effect. So just wanted to mention that before we get started. And also, again, I want to give people a few minutes to get in here. Yo, Kelvin, Compton, what's up? Henry, I will do so, Henry. Absolutely, my friend, I will. And thank you all for commenting. Again, thank you all for watching. Those that are watching with us live right now, and those that are tuning in as it's recorded. Coming up this coming week, we're going to have Open Forum Tuesday, where we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And then Wednesday, we're going to have EAR. And then Thursday, I'm going to talk about a little bit later on in the show what we're going to do Thursday. But Wednesday's EAR is going to be about economics. So that's what's coming in the week ahead. I'd also like to have a panel for Friday. And if you're out there watching and you've always wondered, well, I'd like to get on there and express my opinion on things, this is your time. I'd like to have a panel. I wanted to have True Soulja and Angry Knuckles on together, just the two of them, to give each one of them a little bit more time to talk, because they've always been on with larger panels, and give them some more time to express themselves. But that didn't work out last week. So this week I want to do. I want to talk to people that haven't been on an episode or on a panel before. And I don't care if it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4. If you're interested, email americandoofus@gmail.com, and you're available Friday evening for a recording. Email americandoofus@gmail.com, and we'll have you on. And I'd really like to get a lot of diverse opinions. And I appreciate the fact that people talk with such respect when they come on this program. And I thank all of you for that. And I also, while I'm thanking people, I got to thank contributors. Of course, there are people that have been financial contributors, and I thank you. And I'm going to talk about, I'm going to need some help here to keep things flowing the way they are right now. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. But I want to thank people that contribute information or contribute ideas. And there are a few that I want to shout out. DD, I've got to shout out DD first. She is, everything she sends me is interesting, and probably, I'm guessing 75 to 85% of what she sends me ends up on the show one way or the other. So that's how valuable she is to me. and to the show, and thus to all of you, because she helps out so much, and she's an incredibly intelligent young woman that is on an amazing career path. She's gorgeous. I mean, she's a powerful woman of color, and there are so many out there. And she's just one example. And Dee Dee, I thank you. Brother Y, and I'm just gonna say brother and the initial, the letter Y, because I don't identify people on here, especially those that ask to not have their identity shared. But brother Y sends me a lot of things, and a lot of what is sent is problems between individuals or factions in the Black community, and I don't do that. I don't get in the middle of that. I just don't do that. But some of the stuff, but I look at everything, and I wanted to read this one verbatim because this is important information, and it's not new information for some, but you'll see the importance here. And again, thank you for all your emails. Representatives from 16 countries, along with Tim Jackins, Jackins, met at the United Nations 4 years ago to begin a global movement, and that movement is named United to End Racism. The meeting at the UN that was sent before, it felt like another Bureau of Land Management sting. I wanted to send this one. I'm grateful you have friends, sir. However, in case you're left alone with a media mess, there is global group doing the work in most countries around the globe. Peace. So, and then there's a link to a video. And as far as, in conserving time, I'm not going to play the video, but nonetheless, I wanted to make sure and acknowledge that there is a group called United to End Racism. And I founded a movement called End All Racism, EAR. And while United to End Racism is like it's a macro group, if you will. Okay, it's a group looking at large focus and then eventually narrowing down. What EAR is a micro organization that is starting small and then growing out. So it's not that one method is going to be more effective or better than the other. It's not that just because they exist, we shouldn't exist. It's nothing like that. And people will try to present things like that because, quite frankly, there are a lot of people that don't want to see racism end. And so that's why a group called End All Racism is so important, in my opinion, because there are going to be hopefully a surprising number of people that do want to see an end to all racism, EAR, End All Racism. So I also want to thank Susie P, 15AR, Sissy, of course, and 100% Black Rack, and others. Some people just send me one thing and that's all they ever send, and some I use. Quite honestly, the amount of email I get, some get lost in the shuffle. Just like the other night, I played the UN video about police brutality and their investigations of that. So that kind of catches us up to where I'm getting ready to start the show. So thank you all again for watching. It's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Cassandra, there's Sissy. There's Sissy now. Evening, Sissy. Matt, thank you all for watching, and I'll get back over and read some comments. Cassandra, I'm going to touch on your, my email again is American Doofus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS @gmail.com. And racism will never end as long as America is not honest. I think I think that's a very profound statement. And that's part of what we, part of what we do with the EAR episodes. We're bringing out things that people might not be aware of, trying to be honest and to face things. And a lot of times the conversations on EAR episodes are uncomfortable, but they're needed. They have to be had. And once they're had, there's the discomfort's not there. It's much more comfortable once there's understanding and shared information. And speaking of shared information, I had something I wanted to talk about on a episode that I didn't get to, and I don't know where it's at the moment. But so I'm going to get back on track, and that is the last EAR episode, which here we'll start the weekly wrap going backwards. Backwards, we did a Tuesday live forum last Tuesday. Very interesting. A lot of people with a lot of different opinions and takes on things, and a lot to talk about back then. And then we had the EAR episode Wednesday, which it was ladies' night. And we had 3 of the powerful women that are involved with EAR, had them on a panel talking about people who have made a difference in a fight for equality that is decades old. And they started at the beginning with John Brown and with oh my gosh, I want to make sure I say her name right, and I don't have the paper for some reason. I left it out in the other room, I guess, after writing it down. But anyway, it's Ellen, and I can't remember her last name. But go back and watch that episode Wednesday, because there are some stories that are told that I wasn't aware of, and that's one thing I love about this show and about all of you is I'm always learning things, and I'm grateful for that. So that's what happened on Wednesday, the EAR episode. Then we jump ahead to Grandmaster Jay, and Grandmaster Jay was in court. I found it odd that he received the information from 2 armed police officers without winter coats on the courthouse steps. And but maybe that's the way they do things. But anyway, I'm still going with what I reported at the beginning, and that was that 4 of the federal charges were dropped. They did keep 1, and that the state charges are still in discussion. And I haven't heard any differently. And if I'm wrong, I will correct it, because that's what we do here. That's what this is about. So, and I had said before that I couldn't see him dropping charges, and I'm glad they have done so. I'm glad I was wrong. I don't want to see anyone incarcerated for something that they did not do. And in my now, this is where we separate fact from opinion. In my opinion, the actions of Grandmaster Jay on that night were a self-defense mode of observing who was observing him to make sure of the surroundings. I don't think it was in any way, shape, or form an aggressive. And that's just from the information, the videos, the stills, the things I have seen in the past and have talked about on the show. But nonetheless, I was surprised, and I was surprised to see charges dropped. And I think that shows the level of legal representation he has. I think he has, and I said this on the show before, and some people, especially people in the Black community, didn't like the attorney that he chose. But I said this guy's a top dog, and even read some recommendations of other people that had used his services. So, as far as I know, that is the latest from Grandmaster Jay. He does go back to court in May, and there's always an open invitation for Grandmaster Jay to come on here and talk, and we'll record an episode, and won't have any questions or anything over here, so that no regulations or constraints are violated. Because as I understand it, he doesn't have the ability to have his show back, which to me has been bullcrap. And not because I'm a follower, but because it violates the First Amendment, and it also restricts the man from making a little bit of money. And according to court documents, that was his only source of income. So, don't think the man's not being punished, okay? And it's just a matter of whether you view it as just or unjust. And of course, he's an incredibly polarizing figure, and there are going to be those that just hate everything he says and does, and there are going to be those that support everything he says and does. And that's just the way it works. But while I'm on the topic, you don't see that with other figures. I mean, on the level that you do with Grandmaster Jay, and that's unique in and of itself. So enough about Grandmaster Jay and the NFAC for the moment. Again, Tuesday's open forum, so if anybody wants to come on into the live chat and talk about things, that's when we'll do that. And I'm going to, before I go to the next topic, hop over into the live chat right now after talking about the NFAC. Glenn Smith, hello. Raymond, hello. Yes, Trump's speech was carried on Fox News. Those that watch the show can probably guess, not a huge Fox News fan. Okay. And I couldn't find so I went to Fox, and my computer was like, hey, no, you don't do this. You don't go to Fox. And, but anyway, I saw that it was carried live. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch it in its entirety, either later tonight or tomorrow, and have an episode on that with commentary, because I'm going to be looking for dog whistles. I'm going to be looking at body language. I'm going to be looking at his speech in its entirety and the words he says, just in hopes that I do not find anything that is in any way incendiary or in any way sparking the extreme part of his party. And there's a Trump problem in the Republican Party, okay? The Republicans, a large percent of them, and I'm talking about the Republican elite. I'm not talking about voters. I'm talking about, I'm wearing clothes I used to wear when I was campaigning for Congress, okay? So I'm talking about those level people, all right? There's a problem. They want his voters. They don't want him, okay? Now, that's not out in the open. That's kind of, behind the scenes kind of thing at the moment. At least not enough people are talking about it. Some are starting. But there are those that are so devoted to him that they aren't going to go anywhere he doesn't tell them to go, okay? And that goes back to be careful who you let control your mind, because they'll control your heart. And we were talking about Marcus Garvey earlier in EAR meeting, and one of his quotes was something about let no one control your head because then they can control your heart. And it was something similar to that. I paraphrase, and I apologize if I didn't get it exactly right. But the problem is they want his voters, but they don't want him. And his voters, again, he's got people that support him that are CEOs of corporations. Yeah, one of them is the My Pillow guy, but there are others, and I don't know how many, but it's not like it's just people in the street that all they do is watch Fox News. There are those, but it's not limited to that. Now, Trump himself has a problem because he wants to run for office again. And his problem is he's got enough followers for an insurrection, but he doesn't have enough followers for an election. And that's what worries the Republican Party as far as politically, because he's got enough people that he could possibly win the nomination. But will 50% of the country want him 4 years from now? That's a big gamble to put on idolizing one person. And we talked about in one of the other episodes last week about the golden calf from the Bible when Moses went up the mountain to receive the Ten Commandments from God, and the people of Israel became impatient and built a golden idol in the shape of a calf and began to worship it. And the God of the Bible does not like people worshiping anything other than him. It's written fairly clearly in many instances. Pardon me. And I'm not saying that they built a golden trump to worship, but I'm saying the appearance of that is there. And they have to be aware of that if they consider themselves evangelical Christians, unless they've never read any of the Bible or they've only read the New Testament and don't know about the other stories in the Bible. Anyway, that's what's happening in CPAC. Episode before this, we showed some of the people from QAnon and what they think. And now March 4th is coming up, and that is this Thursday. And I said later on in the episode I'd be talking about March 4th. And Thursday is supposedly the day that Donald Trump is inaugurated as the 19th president of the United States, according to some. And it's going to be a day of the swarm, when there will be an uprising and a cleansing, beginning with media people that are in line with the idea that Trump lost the election and we should move forward. So that's what we're looking at Thursday. And what I'm thinking about doing Thursday, and I've got a good number of people here at the moment. And again, I thank you all for watching. And let me know if you think this will work. Yeah, don't be. Yeah, Trump is God to some of them, and or a savior, and that in and of itself is troubling. Again, I said earlier, there's enough for a insurrection. Now, are they going to be put off by the current amount of charges being levied against people that were caught in what happened at the Capitol? Are they going to be discouraged by that, or are they going to be motivated by that and actually rise up? And again, I want to watch the Trump speech just to see if there might be some dog whistles. And at the same time, I've got to say, I've gotten messages that it doesn't matter. It's not about Trump anymore, that something's going to happen. And it's not about Trump anymore. And normally I have intelligence, I've got information coming in. It seems like that a lot of the people that are part of the QAnon, they have gone to text only, that they aren't on web platforms. So information is not as prevalent as it has been in the past and as it was leading up to January 6th. But I'm what I wanted to ask everyone. I'm thinking about, well, I'm going to do a live on Thursday. I'm going to do a live Thursday morning just to make sure that nothing is happening, and kind of throughout the day, pop in and out live. But what I was thinking about, I need, and I hate even saying anything like this. Sorry, I dropped my pen. Hate saying anything like this, but I'd like to keep the show going the way it's going. And that means it takes some time to put all this stuff together, believe it or not. And I need to raise some money in order to do that. So I was thinking about having a kind of a telethon kind of thing on Thursday and just broadcast 12-hour period on Thursday and try to raise enough money to keep the show going for 3 months. So I'm just throwing that out there, because if that would be a horrible idea, I want to know about it. Okay, it's just a thought of, because I'm getting to the point where I can't keep going the way I'm going, and I'm at the point where potential employers are not going to want to hire somebody that does what I do on here. And it's while it's not a huge show, we have had an amazing, absolutely amazing amount of individual views of people that have at least seen this little program in some form or another. And again, I thank all of you for that, because of the shares, because of word of mouth that people watch, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. So that's what I'm thinking about doing on Thursday. So one other thing I want to mention before it's just questions, earthquakes. And I can't show while I'm live what I'm talking about, but there's an unusual amount of earthquakes happening at the moment, and have been happening for the past 7 to 10 days, all around the country, and in unusual patterns that tend to border the plate tectonic boundaries of what makes the actual crust of the earth that allows our ecosystem to flourish above it. When those two things, they're all rather they're all interconnected, or one is rising above the other in some places. And when these things shift, we have earthquakes. And there's small earthquakes all around the globe going. And I say small, it's like 5-point earthquakes and lower, and then an inordinate number around the globe. And there is a site here on YouTube that the guy does a really good job of explaining what it means. It gets a little nerdy at times, but actually the guy's not bad to listen to at all. And I'll tell you what, I'll find it and I'll pop that into the comment section once the live ends. So let's see where we at. Angry Knuckles, salute to you, brother. I'm hanging in there, man. I hope you are well. Hope everybody out there watching is well. Everybody's blessed. Let's see where we're at. The Black American, what's the latest on Jay and the NFAC? As far as I have been informed, There's nothing new in the legal proceedings other than what I've already reported on, that 4 of the federal charges were apparently dropped. And again, this is just my reporting from sources. Okay. 4 of the federal charges were dropped, 1 remained, and the state charges were still being discussed if they would be pursued or if they too would be dismissed. And it has never changed to my knowledge. Grandmaster Jay was, and continues to be the leader of the NFAC. So that's the latest. That's the latest on them, my man. And anything else I get, I'll make sure we get it out there. QAnon will catch a big fat LON on the 4th, just like they did in the 6th. That's it, Kindred. Yes, thank you very much. That's the earthquake site, and the guy's really serious about it. And you know, I had a geography class in college, and part of it was geology, so you understood the geography. And this guy again, he gets a little deep at times, but keep an eye on it just in case, especially if you live in one of the areas that things potentially could be happening. And I got people watching from all around the world, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. Raymond, you do have a forum. One way to start ending racism in America is to toss all brainwashing school history books into the fire, rewrite them with horrible truth of man's inhumanity to man. Yeah, we discussed that on the EAR, on the episodes, and we discussed it in our meetings. And I should have announced this much, much earlier, and I neglected to, but in the EAR meetings, we normally have them Sunday at 3:00. And they've been just the organizers, if you will, of the movement. And this coming Sunday is going to be the first open EAR meeting. So if you're interested in coming on board and helping EAR, we're at a point where we're going to start bringing people in and hopefully growing this movement. So this Sunday at 3:30 will be the first public, if you will, EAR meeting. And it'll be public as far as open to those other than the organizers, but it'll be private in that only the first 100 people. It won't be broadcast over the internet. Everything's going to stay within house. So if you're interested in that, email me also, americandoofus@gmail.com. And in the subject, put EAR meeting. So I'll know. Young City, my man, thank you so much for coming on to this show and talking and sharing truth. And you're welcome back on, and we're going to have you back on soon. Kindred, been watching him for some time now. Yeah, and I'm not sure who it was. It might have been T-Rex, but somebody said to me, and it stuck with me. Somebody said to me, something's going to happen that we are all going to have to pull together. And it might be a natural disaster that forces us to set aside the petty differences that have been taught or passed down or created, and set those aside and realize our humanity and our connection, because we're all connected, whether we want to like it or not. And maybe that's part of the problem, is that there are those that don't want to be connected, and it pisses them off that we are, but we're all connected. Closest earthquake right now is close to the Mississippi River and is 1.74. Okay, cool. I mean, not cool, but cool that it's only a 1.74. And a lot of people don't know. Everybody thinks that it's just California that suffers earthquakes. And while there have been some devastating earthquakes in California, and we should never downplay that or the possibility one could happen at any time. But if you look at the plate tectonics of the globe in itself, there are numerous locations where major earthquakes could happen, including in the Midwest. America's living a fantasy. Slaves were workers who came over. All of them still pretend like children. Slaves were workers who came over, but many of them didn't come over by choice. I'm not going to claim to be a black historian or an expert or anything like that, but from what knowledge I have, it wasn't a choice to come over here and be a worker. Now, there's so much that has happened since all of that ended that could have gone in so many different directions and put us in a totally different place we are now. And the decisions of the past and of the even recent past make it harder for us to see past, see beyond the things that are put in place to divide us. And I hope we don't ever get to the point that it's a massive natural disaster that's the only thing that would ever bring us together. But it just might be. Cassandra Cheek, you cannot be black talking like a fool. I'm not black. However, when we did the ancestry.com thing, I don't know if I've ever spoken on this, but there's a gap in my family tree on my father's side. Okay, my grandpa was an orphan, and the orphanage he was in burnt down, and all the records were lost. So there's no way of tracking who he was or where he came from unless I can get further down the tree, ancestrally speaking, and then kind of push backwards. And I've got like an eighth cousin named David Welsh. He's the only person that's contacted me on that side, and he's black. So no, I'm not black, and I'm not trying to act like a fool when I talk about communities of color, because I know I'm ignorant on a lot of things, and I know ignorance creates miscommunications and it creates misunderstandings. An example that pops to mind is everybody kept saying Grandmaster Jay's an agent, Grandmaster Jay's an agent, Grandmaster Jay's an agent. And I kept looking at it thinking, no, I don't see that, I mean, I just don't see that. All right. And I've reported on this an inordinate amount of times. But when I hear the word agent, I think of someone that is working with law enforcement in some form or capacity, either undercover or known that they're an agent of the FBI, or they're an agent of the Secret Service, or he's undercover like the guy from the Proud Boys was, an informant. But I think, and somebody's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't asked this, but I've come to process that possibly there's a different meaning of the word agent in the Black community, where it's more just anyone that can't be trusted is considered an agent. Is that true or false? I'm trying to learn things here, and that's just something I've thought about a lot, because so many times that it's come at me that why that I must be an agent because I'm protecting Grandmaster Jay somewhere somehow, even though we have no connection at all, other than the fact that I admire what he has done, and I admire anybody in the NFAC or the new Black Panther Party. Um, or any organization that is willing to stand up for their people, if you will, in case something goes wrong. And I don't know how. I don't think there could be enough of those groups, and to be tearing at each other, just as a observation from an older white guy from the distance, tearing at each other is not gonna solve what needs to happen. And as far as if things go terribly wrong. Hopefully, March the 4th, absolutely nothing happens. And I'm on here talking live for 12 hours looking for things to talk about. But if I do that, I'll have videos and things things to share. So and hopefully guests and stuff. Anyway, my hope is that March 4th is all talk, that they see what happened on the 6th and they don't want to be a part of it. It was mentioned in an episode before that the National Guard, the reason the National Guard was left in DC was to deter something happening on March 4th. What wasn't mentioned and hasn't been talked about is there's potentially a divide within the military, and a presence of white supremacy in the military that it's currently being investigated, but that has to play into any factoring whether something can or cannot happen. Chris, our buddy, who when he first came on, the first couple of episodes, everybody's like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about," and then so much of the stuff that he talked about proved to be true, and now people are going, "Hey, what's Chris say when you're having Chris back on?" And we'll be having him back on. But he talked about the casualties of troops shooting their fellow troops. So, that's something that has to be factored in as far, like I said, as far as considering if something can or cannot happen. Always have to check the cell phone when texts come through to make sure it's not family member, something happening with a family. I know all of you, you know what I'm talking about. Black folk treat each other the way white folk treat them, hateful. Cassandra, not all white folk, but I get your point. And again, not all black folk, but again, I get your point. Yeah, I get your point. I don't have answers, but I can recognize the problem. Sissy McLeod, I spoke with Kaufman's nephew, and he said Kaufman's sister didn't want to talk to anyone about him, but I didn't find put he had been in DC over a week. Wow. Hey, T-Rex. Denial. Burn the books, let my people go from prison. Yeah, we've talked about the prison industrial system and um, jail for profit. So yeah, and we'll be talking more about that because things like that can't be talked about enough, and they can't be ignored. Um, well, they can. People look the other way all the time, but if you're going to fix anything, you got to know what you're facing. Um, I have not talked to True Soldier. He left a couple of comments, Knuckles. But yeah, at some point, I'd really like to get just the two of you back on here because the two of you were on one of our originals, and I'd like to do a follow up with the two of you guys and the two of you young men. Um, Raymond Johnson, the offense of undermining black people, calling us people of color, only the white supremacists and their black bootlicks do this shape up. Um, Raymond, normally I refer to communities of color when I'm talking about uh, all the communities other than the white community. And then I talk about the black community when it's specific to the black community. And it's not done with offense or with any kind of negative connotations. That's just to me it's inclusive because some things are anybody but white, and some things are specific to the black community, in my opinion. So that's why I phrase things that way, and it's not meant to disrespect or downplay anyone in the black community. Um, okay, all right, I'll respect that. New Orleans Uptown. Um, oh yeah, yeah. We discussed that in one of the EAR episodes. Um, okay, I did not realize it had that negative of an impact on so many people that are viewing this program. I will not. I won't refer to the black community as peoples of color. Never an intent. So, but again, that's how we learn. Um, Denial. I don't want to play the black and white game anymore. But I'm tired of playing the same old game, and I want to see my sons again. I really do. Yeah. Um, in the '60s, there was an incredible fight for a small amount of progress, but I thought we'd put past us the hatred and the violence. I really did. I was ignorant that um, that we as a society had not evolved past that. And if nothing else, 2020 showed us um, that we in my generation took for granted that racism wasn't a problem. And I've talked about that on here about playing sports and playing music and hanging out, playing cards, and how it wasn't a thing and it became a thing again. And it elevated to such an extent in 2020 that, God, it's so troubling. It's so troubling. Um, how did I think that? It never went away, and now Biden is bringing it back. Cassandra, I'm not going to blame Biden for bringing it back. How did I think it went away? Because um, I didn't hear about it like I did in the 60s. And I didn't hear about it in the 70s and the 80s. And, you see, and it's going to sound It's going to sound so lame to so many of you, but I'm being 100% real. You know, you see the Cosby Show, and you see what's happening, and you see these shows that are promoting Black culture. And it seemed like we were progressing, and you just assume that once you progress, that it's just going to continue to progress. And that's where a lot of us dropped the ball, because we didn't keep pushing for progress. And I learned from that. And I think a lot of people learn from that. And possibly even, you know, people in the Black community can admit that they thought the same thing, that all this, you know, that it's not equal, that it's not set up to be equal. They didn't think that, but that the hate and the dangers, if not completely gone, were at least not as prevalent. I could be really wrong, but that's just me talking about, you know, the past 40, 50 years. TV and media are whitewashing the issue of race. That's a very distinct possibility, because they are controlled by corporations, and it's all about money there. This is more like a public broadcasting setting, where you know, it's not funded by anybody, and other than me and you that donate. And I thank all of you. Cassandra, I don't doubt that you always knew it was there. I don't doubt that a bit. Do not doubt that a bit. Well, I've been on here for, I don't know, close to an hour, coming up on an hour anyway. And I thank all of you for joining. I thank everybody for commenting over here. Yeah, words get taken the wrong way at times, Knuckles. T-Rex, the Cosby Show, just like Obama, lulled blacks to sleep. The good whites thought we were making progress, while the white supremacists hated the Cosby Show and Obama. Yeah, and that's what gave us Trump, really, was two major factors. Was that the white supremacists really hated Obama being president, let alone a president for 8 years. And they did not want Hillary Clinton to be president at all costs, to the point of not only cartoonizing, but demonizing both of them. You know, whether that's, you know, that's a totally, whether that ends up being justified or not, that's for God in heaven to determine, not for me. So, peace to you, Denial. Peace to all of you out there. I love you all. Thank you again, Cassandra, Axe. Thank you for your comment. Mama Rose, thank you. I love you all. I'll be back live Tuesday with an open forum, where it'll be mostly things like this, just talking with people in the chat. And until then, man, if you love somebody, tell them you love them, you know, and it's okay to tell people you love them. And you know, there's all different levels of love. So don't get caught up on romance or sex, because love's important, especially in a violent and cruel world. So I love you all. Wish you nothing but blessings and peace and prosperity and health. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. It's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Until next time, peace. I love you. Thank you all.